Hey wife, hey, it's White Strut Wednesday, and with my anniversary coming up soon, I thought I've been sitting around and reflecting on like what is different, what is new, what am I looking forward to in the next 5 years. I can't believe that just next week we're already going to be at freaking 5 years marriage. So thank God. Only Jesus, wine, conflict, counseling. Anyway, so I've been sitting and kind of thinking like, given the fact that I don't have a lot of, clearly any experience, you don't have experience till you have it, right? Or wealth of women that I can get knowledge from. Like, you do the best you can and you try to, you do the best you can and you try to improve along the way and share feedback, seek information and knowledge. And so I started thinking to myself, like, if I could tell my younger, freshly, newly married self something that I know now that I definitely didn't know then, like, what would I tell her? So I've come up with 5 things and I'm just gonna share them with y'all. Okay, so I wrote them on my phone because I want to give some thought. So here we go. Okay, number 1, it is okay, scratch that, it is essential to build a fence of protection around your marriage, like mostly of which I would say boundaries. It is essential to establish boundaries as a protection fence around your marriage. I think sometimes coming in, you're shifting, you're trying to find your way, and then people have their inputs, and then, traditions that things used to be versus traditions that you want to create versus other people's expectations and what they want you to maintain. And at the end of the day, like, you have to be proactive. It is okay to set boundaries and limits and say, these are the boundaries as a protection for your growing marriage. So that's number 1. Number 2, discuss and negotiate how you show up in your marriage for your husband. You do not have to be superwoman, Shayliko. You do not have to be superwoman. I think oftentimes we're like, so I have all these things to do and I want to be really good at this and I want to be really intentional about this. And I think it's really important to remember that there's this fine line on the spectrum of who you are and how you help between like assisting, supporting, enabling, resenting, right? There's this fine line that you can go in between. So I think to kind of see where you want to live, for me, which would have been at assisting and supporting as opposed to like enabling and becoming resentful, would be to make sure I discuss those things and negotiate like what this looks like. How can I help? What do you need from me? What am I willing to do? Where can I stretch myself? Where can you stretch yourself? And I think my younger self was like, I've got this wifeness that I want to have, and like, this is really important to me, and I want to be successful at this. And like, hold on, girlfriend. You can discuss this. You can negotiate this. And guess what? You can rewrite it along the way. No one told me that. I didn't know that. And I think sometimes you feel like, but what does that mean? Does that mean I failed? Does that mean I suck? That means you are writing and you get to rewrite. As long as you keep each other in the loop of what you're rewriting, all is good. Number 3, remember to pray for and with your husband regularly. In our premarital counseling, they would have us pray for each other. And I think we were very comfortable praying for each other in our individual prayers, but they talked about praying out loud like a dance, right? And like if you're dancing together, you step, I step, you should just like kind of flow together and know when one person slows down, the other person steps in. Like, while that all sounds great, it was super freaking awkward. So for us, it was like, okay, well, I'm gonna pray for you, you pray for me. But it is so important, A, to pray for your spouse, and B, young married me, pray for your husband with your husband, pray for your marriage together. Because I do remember that when we were in premarital counseling, we would pray out loud for each other together. It was so comforting and warming to know like things that maybe I didn't think that he knew what's going on or that were important or that he cared about, to hear him say it out loud, which is like, that's also on the same priority list with him. So if I were to talk to my younger self, I would say that for sure. Make sure you pray for and with your husband and your marriage regularly, daily, preferred, girlfriend. Number 4, do not pass off your own insecurities about yourself as his opinion. That one was like so hard. I think it's interesting that when you meet someone, date someone, decide that you're gonna spend your lives together, you're like, these are the things that I love about you, and while we all have room to grow and like we will, transition and change and, you know, grow together. I think the things that are what brought us together, sometimes we forget. Like, my husband always says, like, you are so confident and sassy and like gave no craps, you know, when you had an opinion about something, and that's just how you felt, though you had a listening ear. I think the longer we got into our marriage, my own insecurities would step in. Insecurities about like how I look, and my weight has always been a thing. But I think when you're dating someone and you're prepping for this process of transformation, like you're hardcore at the gym and you're like, it doesn't matter, push through, and then like life happens, and then like y'all seeing each other all day, every day, 24 on the clock, off the clock, and you're like, you know what, this keeps creeping up and sneaking up. And now, as opposed to dealing with my own stuff, right, I'm over here saying like, well, is it because you think I'm fat? I still do that sometimes, but men, their opinions be off the wall, right? One time, quick story, one time my husband, we were in the grocery store and we were supposed to be prepping for the wedding and what have you, and I had grabbed some M&Ms and he's like, should you get those M&Ms? And I'm like, should you be asking me that question? And so I got the M&Ms and I put them in the basket, and then I was gonna stand on the edge of the basket, you know, like I'm a child, and I get up here and I'm like, and he was like, whoa, be careful, I don't want you to tip it over. Listen, Linda, I was like, did you just call me fat? And he was like, where did that come from? Oh, because you didn't want me to get the M&Ms. And so I put the M&Ms basket. Now I'm gonna flip the basket over because I'm just so freaking big, right? And he was like, what? Where the heck? And I'm like, me, my own insecurities, my own stuff, right? We went through a layoff and I'm like, do you think that I'm not gonna find work? You think I'm not searching? And he's like, are you kidding me? I think you search all the time. My own stuff that I'm passing off as his opinion. Girlfriend, that's what I would have said. Don't do that. Do better. Own your own stuff. Let him own his own stuff, but make sure you're not passing those thoughts off as his opinions and his thoughts, because that's you. Deal with you, boo. Number 5, remember that your marriage is like this itty bitty baby infant, right? That has to be like cared for, paid attention to, nurtured, held, fed, reassured, and like praised for like little things and celebrated for milestones. I think a lot of times we look at ourselves, especially as people who I feel we got married later compared to some other folks in their early 20s, like that was not us. So you kind of already established in these grooves and these roles that like you just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, well, we already were people and then we just came together, and that's true. But like when you form this new unit as a union of one, then it's like, no, we gotta backtrack some because we got like a fresh thing to look at. And I think sometimes we don't think about that. And then we're like, what the heck? You should have known that. How would you have known that? Like, how would that have made sense? This is brand new. How do you know what a baby's laugh sounds like until you hear it, right? And then you have to tune your ear to that. So like with your marriage, like treat it that way, like with care and tenderness. And it's fragile, right? Because it has to build and grow and create a foundation and consistency where you can be like, oh yeah, that's what a laugh sounds like. Oh yeah, that cry is for milk. This cry is for wanting to be held. This cry is for, you know, what have you. I don't have no kids, but I know that babies, especially being around them, my little sister is 12 years younger, okay? So like you do pick up and learn those things. In case you are wondering, how do you know what it's like? I know, but I know that this marriage, like, girlfriend, it's okay to overreact. It's okay to run to the doctor for little things, right? Because that's what people do when they're new parents and they're trying to figure out what does that mean until you know. Your marriage, an infant, young Shay, just married, girlfriend. It's okay, nurture it, celebrate those milestones, and don't apologize for it. And I want to give y'all a bonus one. I've really been taking some time to think about this, and the wording is gonna be a little bit off, right? But just keep up with me, roll with me here. Something I've been thinking is like, people think, oh, when you become one, like you'll be better off because it's two greatness coming together. Note to young Shay. It may appear that when there are two individuals, when you come together, 1 + 1 = 2. But because you're becoming one, 2 actually conforms to 1. So things that may look like, dang, how is our finances better off? How is this better off? How is, you know, fill in the blank better off? And then when we got together, which what on paper should be more is actually less. So I was trying to process this to myself, and I'm like, when you go from two separate individuals, there's a morphing process, right? So you got to merge and find ways, and that struggle and change is uncomfortable, right? And it takes work, and in that, you may seem like you're getting less. But once you're in that morphing and now you're a union and become one, together blended, that's when it will flip around and one actually becomes more. So note to earlier self, like prepare yourself for the two individual entities, which were doing their own things, their own ways, and finding ways to groove, to prepare for that when you become one. Momentarily, for some time, it may seem like you have gotten less. That more pushed together did not equal more. But with time, when it's finished this processing and actually merging, which you will be continuing to do your life, that one actually does grow to become more. So wait for it, work on it, and know that you're a part of that process. But don't ever doubt, like, you did this for a reason. You believe in marriage for a reason, and God wouldn't have put something together for two to become one. He intentionally said oneness for a reason, right? And that is always going to grow more. So as I look forward to this week, I don't know, I think I'm gonna do little celebrations the whole way, because 5 years is 5 years. Every year matters and it's great, but I am so stoked for this milestone, and I'll be bringing y'all along on some of my thoughts in the process. As I come up with other things, maybe I'll do a series on like things I should have said to my younger self. I have questions for you. What would you have told your younger self in the early years of marriage, right? What you knew now, or at your 5-year mark, 10-year mark, whatever the case may be. And what could you tell other people as they're freshly married? Some things that maybe you wish that someone told you that you didn't know. It's Wife Strut Wednesday, and we're here for each other, and we're gonna be celebrating anniversaries. I'm super stoked about it. I'll see y'all next week, because I'll be 1 day out from officially 5 years. Be here for the countdown. I'll be here for you. You know I'm always watching. Have a great rest of